Welcome to Spiritual Disclosure. This is a great day. This is our first episode, and we are joined by some amazing people. Let's go around the table. First, we got the incredible, intuitive healer. I know your name. Sarah Adams. Round of applause. All right. And sitting next to the beautiful Sarah Adams is author, international speaker, Michael Orwig. Pleasure. And also sitting next to me, I have the pleasure of sitting with Dr. Lynn Orwig, author and biofeedback specialist.
Yes.
That is a title. And this is our first episode, guys. And as you can see, we're here on the $10 million set, putting everything together. And well, how did this all come together? I know that Sarah flew me in from Las Vegas, and Michael picked me up, Mr. Michael. You didn't fly me. You could have flew me on the plane.
I could have.
You know, the funniest thing is, he goes, before he picks me up at the airport, he goes, "Can you send me a picture?" Then I said, "That's kind of odd. We don't know each other. He needs a picture." Then I thought, what is Sarah setting me up for here? He wanted a picture, and then I'm thinking, what kind of picture did he want? Right? Am I right?
You've been associated with Hollywood
far
too long.
So then I thought...
We're recording a spiritual show. Come on, Dean.
Oh, by the way, I didn't even introduce myself.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
this is
should
our
have
first
introduced
episode.
you, but-
Yeah. I'm Dean Ryan, professional everything.
And he takes credit for it.
Yeah, this is our first episode, and we'll fix this in post. But Michael requested a photo from me, and I thought it was a little forward. But I did send you a picture of me holding a deck of Uno cards. Right?
Yes, it was very, very impressive.
So pick me up. It was,
pack of Uno
but
cards, yes.
it was hell getting here. Sarah booked me a flight at 1:30 in the morning. And I got, my bedtime.
Thanks to Tosh, he considers that morning. And
Yeah, right,
he
yeah.
books my flights.
Isn't he in England?
He does, and he books
Yes.
my
Our
flights
booker.
at 1 in the morning, and I got on the plane to Hawaii instead of home once. On the wrong plane, I almost went to Hawaii. And that's the last time he booked me his 1 in the morning flight, so.
Well, my flight was postponed until 3:30 a.m., so I stayed like 6 hours in the airport. Yeah. And then I arrived at, 4:30 a.m.?
You were supposed to get in at 4:30.
Got it, and I got it at 6. Well, anyway, so that's how all this came about.
And then I looked at his feed because I was still in California, and he's freaking out. Like you're supposed to. It looked like some terrorist attack had happened. Of
Really?
course, it's the middle of the night, and I couldn't get a hold of you guys. Like, I think he'll just be okay.
Oh,
I checked your aura. I'm checking your energy. I'm like,
No. That was, there was a terrorist drill at Las Vegas Airport.
We were fine.
Yeah, at about 3:30
Oh, on
a.m.
top of everything.
There was a loud
else?
siren.
Oh my gosh.
And I had like red eyes, and there was like everybody, and then it was crazy.
Did they mistake you for a terrorist?
Contrary to popular belief, that did not happen. Although I was getting angry like one because I was so tired. But
Yeah.
I got to tell you, being here today for the very first episode of Spiritual Disclosure is so exciting because there are so many shows right now that it's just talking about pop culture all the time and food. And as much as I love food and pop culture, we're going to be covering the whole waterfront. We're going to be talking about health. We're going to be talking about food, pop culture, celebrity news. Yeah, so it's another form of TMZ. But no,
It's
honestly,
the spiritual form of disclosure.
Yes.
it's spiritual, but with disclosure.
But at the same time, we'll be talking about the earth changes. We'll be talking about my favorite topic, the new children, and that's one of the things I write about.
Also, you're a pilot too.
I am. Long-time pilot.
Now, were you part of the Iran-Contra and you were bringing over the drugs
How did
into
you know?
Arkansas?
No.
I saw a movie about you.
We don't have
Oh my
nearly
God.
I don't have the
Please do.
piles of money in the backyard the way
Right.
he did there. It was
Right.
couldn't stick it all. No, that's not us.
No, but we're going to cover the whole waterfront of everything happening to the world and society and the consciousness and and I got to admit I know nothing about anything, and I learned from you three, especially this one here, and I think the audience is in for a real treat of what we're going to be learning, right?
I
I
think
hope.
so.
I mean,
I think so.
And
We've
if
all
it
been friends for a long time, and this is amazing. So
and if it fails, it all you're the brainchild. So
oh, accuse me.
I've known for you for a while. I got stories. We're just getting started. Anyways,
We are just getting started.
but you know what? I want to get into every time I'm on the street and I'm walking, exercising, and I run about 5 miles a day. People come up to me and they say, Dean Ryan, they say, who is this Sarah Adams? What does she do? And I say, well, I said, that's a good thing.
It's a good question, isn't it?
She might be in the CIA. I'm not sure.
There were those rumors about
yeah.
Leslie's CIA.
Might be a
That was one of
CIA,
them.
my hand model, I don't know. But I say, she tells me, and we're going to get into it, multi-dimensional.
Multi-dimensionality.
I say multi, you say multi. Multi-dimensionality. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. I know there's several versions of it. There's all kinds of different variations.
Mhm.
But what is, how would you describe multi-dimensionality?
It's achieving a state of higher consciousness. So just like tune in a radio, you can tune to a different station. I go up, I bring myself up in frequency, and I'm able to tune into things that are higher frequency. I believe a lot of the realms and dimensions are hidden in frequency. We can tap into them by changing our frequency. So that's multidimensionality. It's tuning into other realms and other frequencies, much higher frequencies than most people walking around on Earth are tapping into every day.
And we're going to talk about that, aren't we?
Yes.
About how to achieve that.
Yes.
No, for
And it's
example.
healing. It's healing and it's life changing, and it's just, it shows you there's much more than just this 3D world. There's much more to existence.
You mean in the galaxy?
Well, I access different dimensions. I can also astral project. I can get out of my body. I've traveled to the moon that way. I've traveled all the way to Mars that way. So I can go galactic travel or interdimensional travel.
I like galactic travel. It gets you to where you want to go right away. I mean,
It's a lot of miles. You get a lot. You
It's
get
like
a
the
lot.
Concorde.
It's better on the miles
Faster
card
and
and everything.
everything.
No, it's
I
not a
always fly Delta, but I think galactic travel is the way to go. But when you look into these fields, well, I'm a travel expert. A lot of people don't know. But when you look into these fields, when you
We
look,
might as well just name this a comedy show because obviously.
no, it's interesting because when you look into these fields, and I look into them often, is you really don't understand what galactic means. You don't understand what space-time continuum means, or any of that, verbiage, if you will.
It gets thrown around
Like, do you know
all
what
the
this
time.
means? You know what that? Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure if you knew.
We are here to help
Yeah.
you
Well, I just met her. I just met her about a minute ago, and
learn how to meditate.
But if
That's
I-
something
Right.
you need to put on your list.
It was through her
Meditation.
multidimensionality, which was
Uh-huh.
what drew myself, Anna Lynn, to her.
and
I've been
in what
studying-
way?
I've been studying remote viewing,
Okay.
connecting with the Akashic records, and more importantly, being able to work directly with your higher self for your inner guidance, because your higher self knows everything about Michael, Lynn, Dean. It knows everything about Santa, just the same type routine there. And
Those are
Sarah,
our
but
secrets.
one of the things is being accessing universal consciousness for the wisdom of the cosmos is available. We are at that level where the more that we're able to raise our vibration, as Sarah does, we can access this. And this has been something I've studied for myself and wanting to learn better. And Lynn saw Sarah's
Now-
interview with George Norrie on multidimensionality.
I mean, not to name drop, but George Norrie is probably, in case the audience doesn't know, he's probably one of the top interviewers in the country. is
In
that
the
safe to say?
country,
Yeah.
maybe in the world, or at least our world.
Right.
Our world.
Yeah, so that's great. Were you nervous on that show?
No, he's got a sense of humor.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
He always makes me feel so comfortable and so grounded. I
Mhm.
feel like he is such an amazing interviewer because I'm so at peace. I'm able to answer the questions he has for me, just, sort of from a good state. Yeah. So no. And it's hard to find like interviewers that kind of allow you to ground and have that calm.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I really like George.
Well, I love him too. But anyways, moving right along, I want to get into some. I want to switch gears if we can, because I mean I don't want to ballyhoo multi-dimensionality, but I want to talk about something. Actually, I want to talk about Dr. Lynn Orwig. Right? Am I
Yes.
saying that right?
Yes.
You experienced. I did some research on you.
Okay.
Wikipedia goes along.
Oh,
Let me tell you.
yes.
Let me tell you. But Urban Dictionary.
Don't
is-
believe everything you read
Right.
either.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not at all. A lot of fake news out there. But you went through some health issues a long time ago, and we don't have to get into the scope of that here. But there was an epiphany in your life.
There was.
Let's get into that.
I had been a model in New York, and I decided I wanted to raise my family not in New York City because I'm a definite country girl. So I moved to Connecticut and became a tennis playing, horseback riding, country club mom with two beautiful girls, and I injured myself playing tennis, I think probably 15 hours a week. And at one point I was playing tennis with a numb arm, and I won't go into all the details, but my health sort of declined, and I didn't know, I never had a massage, I'd never thought about anything. I was always into health and healing from a certain perspective, but when push came to shove, I started to get into all these different modalities, and I found it was just almost like a fish in water, because I started paying more attention to myself and my body, and I found yoga and massage. I became a massage therapist and a yoga teacher, and all of these things. When I started working on bodies, I found I really wasn't interested in giving them the massage, but I would get these messages about what they all needed to do. So I felt bad because I was always talking through the massage, which was supposed to be like a healing experience.
So like talking through your hands.
I was talking through my
Yeah.
hands, right?
Yeah.
And so it was great
I've done
for me
that
because
before,
I learned the body very well from that experience, and yoga.
Well, that's a
Did you
big
know,
move.
Did you
Yeah.
know I got massages from my wife before we got married?
Oh, wow.
Let me just listen. We can shut this show down really easily. Let's explain to the
Pay
audience.
someone now. Like,
We'll fix that in post. The audience, I guess, full disclosure, because this is spiritual disclosure, is you two are married.
yes.
It's not a secret anymore. We're trying to hide it until he spilled the beans right there. But Lynn talks about speaking through her hands. Michael, are you a good listener when it comes to Lynn speaking with her hands? Can you explain to the what is that like when you have somebody speaking with their hands?
I'm gonna butt in here. So like when I give my boyfriend a hug or something and I see, like I'll have these images that he's eaten something that's either caused inflammation or his body doesn't like or had some sort of additive, and immediately I will get the download to tell him not to eat that food or to kind of be careful to, if he does, to eat it not a lot. So that's the sort of downloads that I get, so I do understand what you're talking about.
And it's more the energy. You
It's
know,
just
it's the
that's
having-
where I
ener-
was
it's,
getting
it's
at.
tapping
Tapping
into the
other person's
energy.
field,
Yes.
So you're downloading
Right.
what's happening with their body.
Exactly.
Often people, when you have a lot of inflammation, you are not able to really get the downloads that you need for yourself, because the inflammation kind of messes with your brain, your thoughts, everything. it's messing with your emotions,
Right.
and it's kind of handicapping you on a cellular emotional level. So when somebody's clear, they can come in, sense your energy, pick up what's wrong with your body, and kind of give that information back to you, which is much easier.
I want to get back to Lynn for a minute. So you had this awakening.
Right. Well,
Going
pain does that. Just what you
Yes,
said.
Right.
Pain,
it does.
pain.
So you were having pain.
I was
and-
having pain, and that.
So you were in the concrete jungle of New York, and you came out here to the woods in Colorado, and you discovered this whole new lifestyle. And now, where did that lead you? Because so you were in you were playing tennis, and you were raising a family. Where did that lead you to where you are today?
Well, divorce.
Okay, that's
Divorce
usually- I
was
wasn't
a
ready for
big-
that one.
Divorce was a big
Then she found a
factor.
totally man.
And I was used to a certain lifestyle, and then it was all, I have to do something with my life. Well, what do I want to do, and how can I be of service in the the grand scheme of things? So it became the massage and the healing and the yoga, and it led me on this path where it's all I did was consume information about health and healing, and then went on to get my doctorate at age 60 in natural medicine based in quantum physics.
Wow.
So and oddly enough, I never understood regular physics in school so much, but it's the first time I started reading about quantum physics, I was like, oh wow, I understand that. So it all ended up
You had to
making
have seen her,
sense to me.
because this was all on video, on tablet, or on the computer,
Mhm.
iPad at the time. She would be cooking dinner, listening to Amit Goswami, who was an Indian man I'm a little challenged with some different dialects, and he's going over quantum physics while she's cooking dinner. and she's looking at this like it's the most simplest concept you can imagine, and she's just going about her business. This is what she did for 2 years.
Wow.
Doing this.
Actually,
It was
You're a
Four.
woman after my own heart. Like
Wow.
that. I feel like
That's
I
real love.
meditate. I meditate, and this sounds bad, but I do meditate when I'm driving and stuff. It's
That
the
does
focus.
sound bad. You're right. That sounds terrible.
No, I learned
Yeah.
how
She's a
even
good
when
driver.
When
Yeah, that sounds awful.
when I exercise, I can bring myself into a state of meditation.
Mhm.
So I have really worked at achieving meditation in very hard or intense circumstances. Now I don't recommend,
no. It's hard. It's hard for people because they're taken
It's
out
not
of.
a deep
they've
meditation
taken
when I'm
out,
driving. It's
but they're
sort of,
taken
yeah,
out of-
We all do
relaxation.
that.
Yes.
I think
Of-
to a
of
certain
their-
extent, too.
cognitive ability to be with that situation, and they're in a reactive mode.
Mhm.
And being able to be in that state is very difficult for most people.
Most
they can't
people
do it.
are in fight or
Fight or flight, and they
mode.
go into a reactionary mode.
Yes, so I.
Well, it's the kids of these days. A lot of them are rediscovering meditation that maybe their parents did in the '60s and stuff. But actually, that's a good segue into raising children in the 21st century. And full disclosure here on Spiritual Disclosure is I have no children. Not that I care to get into why I don't have any, but I see the way parents raise their kids today. And I say, man, I would have never gotten away with that in the 1980s. I would have gotten beat for some of the way these kids are just so unconscious, so no self-awareness, stuck to playing the video games, eating the sugar, eating all the crap. And I want to bring it to Michael's attention because you've written a book.
2 books.
Books, yeah, 2 books. You're
Three
an
books.
author.
Well,
3 books.
I've
Any
written
more
3,
books?
but 2 about the
Okay.
children.
You've written some books on kids, and correct me if I'm wrong. You call it the shadow kids,
No, the quantum children.
the quantum children.
So volume 1.
Oh, I got to fire my intern. Who wrote
Yeah,
these notes?
It's the quantum children,
Yes.
and it's on Amazon.
Right.
And I have a couple of copies. We can throw those up. But it's the first book is the Quantum Children: A Parent's Guide for the 21st Century, and volume 2 is the Supporting Your Child on Their Soul's Path.
Right.
Is what volume 2 is. And
Now, would you say my assessment is pretty spot on? Because I think it is that the way you were brought up is entirely different than the kids today. Or am I wrong? Are you saying that the kids today are more spiritually awakened than the kids of 20 years ago?
In many ways, you could say yes to both. You have to start studying and understanding where the earth as a consciousness herself is going. And I try to explain the history of all of the shifts in consciousness in book 1, because most of the media in our society doesn't connect the dots. They give you a little piece of information here, and when you look at how all of the shifts are occurring, these different generations, which are actually the groups of children that come in far smaller groups than what we think of as our standard 20-year Generation X or whatever, they're actually coming.
Generation Z, that's the new generation.
Is that what it's called now?
Yes, and then, you know,
But it's
the wonderful millennials.
They're all wonderful. I've studied indigo children, crystal children, rainbow children, and the Earth's contract for humanity, all humanity, to bring in and allow us to bring in souls that are still working on the old paradigms of what I like to call separation consciousness, is expired. So it's only higher vibrational children have been coming into the planet since 2012, and
Where are they? It's hard for me to find these people.
I believe
Well-
there's I believe there's a war on consciousness, and that's why they're marketing a lot of stuff to children that's toxic, whether it's fast food, whether it's
iPads.
Yes, you know, there's just a lot of things that are being thrown at higher vibrational souls coming into this world. And they're ultra sensitive, these souls. And, you know, something that might not affect a person that is lower frequency is going to affect them. So I feel like we have this war on consciousness, and it starts with the children. Our school systems are terrible. The food that is fed to the children at school is terrible. It's basically slop. I wouldn't feed it to my pets. So it's that
those
bad.
pets are very well
And-
taken care of.
No,
Uh-huh.
if you research most schools around the United States, the school lunches would make you cry. It's terrible. And so they're getting no nutrition, these children. They're being told, they're kind of being programmed in a school system that doesn't care, you know, about their emotions, doesn't care about their well-being. It doesn't see them as a unique individual. It just sees them as cattle. And it teaches them a certain amount of, you know, things that, in the end, most of those things taught in school aren't going to be useful in their life.
I've never used algebra since the 10th grade.
I raised
Yeah,
my hand in 9th grade and I told my teacher,
We don't
I will never use this.
We don't
Yeah,
teach-
it's so
we should
true.
be teaching about emotional intelligence. We
Yeah.
should be teaching about connecting to others.
That's
We
right.
should be teaching about empathy and compassion.
Right.
We should be caring about children uniquely, not as cattle.
What
because
they
they're-
want.
Exactly, because they're children, and then we're making them so tired. I see my friends' children; they come home and they're drained. They're really drained and
Yeah.
tired. And kids should not have a stressful childhood. They should have a very happy, playful, joy-filled childhood. And you know, we have them. They grow into adults, and they grow into sour people. They grow into people who most of them aren't successful.
Why is she looking at me when she says this?
Well, I'm like, I know you've done, I think you've posted about research about certain different things like this. That's why I'm looking at you, like your feedback here.
Actually, we're going to take a quick break right now and from our local sponsor, and we're going to get back into this because this is groundbreaking stuff. So hold on to your seats, don't change the dial. We're going to be right back here on Spiritual Disclosure. Welcome back to Spiritual Disclosure. I'm your host, Dean Ryan, and I'm with just all these other wonderful co-hosts of mine, Sarah, Michael, Lynn, and we're talking about children of the 21st century compared to the 20th century, and Sarah was explaining the souls coming in and out of the earth and all these different things. I want to pick back up into that, and you were talking about how children are getting home from school and have no energy whatsoever. And why is that? What is the core problem? I mean, we could talk about all the symptoms, but where is the core problem that these children are having? Is it a parental thing? Is it a societal thing? Is it a corporate problem? I mean, what is it?
You know what? I feel like this world is failing the children. We're failing the children in this world on so many levels. And we can't really put the blame on the parents. The parents come from a broken system. And yes, I'm going to get very political here. I believe myself that our elite leaders, our political leaders, don't care to pass laws that will, give out better lunches or make better school systems to take care of the needs of these children. And for me, it's hard to see what's going on in the world and everybody supporting political leaders that are pushing for change. And I see this same broken system, and I just see so many broken children in it. And how do we expect to have flourishing countries and happy people in our countries if the children are already broken at such a young age? They grow into broken adults, and then they have more children that are also broken as children that become more broken adults, and we have a worldwide problem.
Michael, is the political leadership of the world an issue for the stunted growth of the children of today?
Of humanity.
Of all of humanity, yes. The way I look at it is it's not the teachers, it's the structure.
Yes.
And if I were to build an education system myself, knowing what I know about these amazing children, I would do it very individualistic, let them learn at their own pace, let them study what they want to study. We all have within us an internal guidance mechanism that they're not taught how to access.
Tap into.
And if we as parents and grandparents get out of the way and allow these amazing children to study and flourish at their own pace and their own timing, you'd be amazed at what can happen. But our structure is so...
We talk about children and how they're just, they're, what you were saying earlier, you were saying, children nowadays, they just sit behind their computer screens, and they're just not nice, even as children. And I believe a lot of this sort of comes from depression. Children need time in nature. Think about it. People who sit in back of computer screens, a lot of them are depressed. So think about what's happening to children. They're just stuck to this because they're kind of drowning out life, because life has become so just unbearable for them. So they'd rather stay in a safe place behind their Xbox or behind their computer screens. That's a safe place for them. And we mustn't be upset with them for that. We must understand why they're acting like this and provide the solutions to help get them out of that box, because they're living in a box.
I want to bring it to Elaine. I've always been curious. Does parenting ever stop once your children are adults?
Not in my life,
Yeah.
really, because I do have a daughter that lives nearby, and I have 3 grandchildren, and
But does it?
And
And then she's got me.
and then I have Sarah,
Sure.
and
Does it ever stop? I mean, do you stop being a parent once they're 18, or does
Well,
it
no.
continue into
You
their
know.
30s, maybe more?
I think when they're 18, they're just becoming human.
Right.
At least in my world.
Exactly.
It was when they were younger that it was a little bit tough.
I feel like I have children all around the world because I have so many
You
people
do.
who look up to me and who, I'm always helping to heal or helping out. So I feel
Yeah.
like, yes, I feel like I have children all around the world. And I'm not saying that in a demeaning way. I'm saying that in kind of, I have that love,
Yes.
because I'm such a different soul, but I have that love and I'm able to connect.
And they're
Connect to
attracted
any
to
soul,
you.
yes.
They're attracted
And they
to
find that nurturing, 'cause I
that
feel-
light that
Yes,
you
they find that
have.
nurturing, and
Yes.
I built that within myself to nurture myself and others. So I sort of built this energy within me that when people come around me, or animals or children, they feel very nurtured. And we don't have that in the world. I think that, I didn't have it from my mother. I'm a very nurturing person, but I didn't have that from my mother or father.
Right.
I did not have good parents. I had terrible, terrible parents. And I didn't get that nurturing. And I was able to build that love within myself, so it emanates everywhere, and that in the end provides me the nurturing that I need. And I feel like most parents, they didn't, even from their parents, they didn't deserve that nurturing love. And we really need to work at healing and building ourselves up so that we can nurture ourselves and others. And most children, I'd say like probably 80% of the children in the world are not getting the nurturing and love from their parents because their parents don't even love themselves.
Well, that's
Well,
just
and
it.
that
The
is-
parents
that
cannot
is a-
give
that
what
is a
they don't
very-
have themselves.
Some of
Right.
them are more broken
Well,
than
And
their
we
children.
did the best
What
we
is,
could. It's really
Michael, you mentioned this earlier in the intro. What are or what is Indigo Children? I mean, how is that? Are we seeing those pop up? So who are they? What do they want? And where can we find them?
When you look at the different groups, and I wouldn't just focus in on just the Indigos. If you were on a light council allowing souls to come in for the shift and how you would orchestrate all of this, you have different people coming in with a different purpose. Your soul's purpose, your heart's calling, whatever you want to call it. In the late 70s through mid 90s, the Indigos started coming to the planet. They are structure busters. They were here to basically say, that's not in truth, that structure's not in integrity, whatever. But they had, if you want to say, a radar detector for that. If it wasn't in truth or whatever, they were here to basically blow it up. So you
They're
have to have
warriors.
they have to have a warrior spirit.
They have a warrior spirit.
And
yeah.
I'd have to go back and look at the exact lady's name that actually coined the term. But one of the things she did was she studied the auric energetic field of individuals, and these children had indigo in their
Field.
energy field. That's how they got called the Indigo Children. After the Indigos came in, then we had the Crystal Children. Well, it's one thing to have all of this warrior energy, but we need something to harmonize, something to focus. And also the Indigos are not just to blow things up, they are also to restructure or recreate new things for us that are much more in alignment. And the Rainbow Children, oh, they're just pure love.
So I want to go ahead and touch on the subject of the Rainbow Children. I don't know if any of you here are familiar with the return of the Rainbow Tribe that the Indians
The Hopi?
talked about. Yes.
The Hopi.
They said when there will be chaos in the world,
Yes.
that there will be the return of the Rainbow
Yes.
Tribe. Now, we can find a lot of evidence of the quote rainbow people or rainbow tribe around the world, and we can even find it in biblical reference. It's referenced in biblical texts. So we have Joseph, who had a coat of many colors. So Joseph, it wasn't a literal coat. His aura had many colors. It had all the colors in it. So it allowed him to walk and talk with God. So there it talks about the rainbow aura. Now, it really references strongly how because of this rainbow aura he was allowed to walk and talk with God. When his rainbow aura was stolen from him, I believe he was basically energy raped. They took his energy from him. Now, I will tell you this. So orange is like happiness and bliss. You have blue, which is kind of calm. Light blue helps with inflammation. Yellow, again, very much happiness, very high frequency. You have pink, which is the divine feminine. So, and I can go through all the colors, but when we have all these colors together, I believe what happens is it creates a gold layer outside the aura. So you have the rainbow aura, then you have a gold rim around it, and this brings you to the highest frequencies possible. Now, I will also explain this, that I did some research. And most people are born with 1 to 3 colors in their aura. People who have depression don't have yellow or orange, they're missing certain colors. And people who are energy vampires have a lot of gray, red because of anger, and a lot of black. And now when a Reiki teacher comes along or a Reiki practitioner, they start to bring in yellow and orange to a person who's depressed, they can work on that person for up to 3 weeks, maybe 2-3 sessions a week. That person will come out of depression. So I do believe that sort of this whole rainbow tribe, the rainbow children, for this, but more that a lot of people too are going to kind of understand how energy works. I believe humanity's going to become illuminated to how the soul energy works, how the spirit works, and how the energy works of our bodies. And this is going to be the golden age or the age of illumination, because they will realize if they're sick, if you're sad or depressed, you just need to bring in the energy and colors that are missing, like yellow or orange, the colors aligned to happiness and bliss.
And that
So
that
this
was
is the return
said
of
in,
the rainbow
in
tribe.
This is
the
not-
book of Enoch, that
Okay, I was
all
going to mention
all
that.
healing is going to be light, sound, and color.
Yes.
And those of us that have been
Like
in
all
this
the-
realm,
we have all
we
the
know
colors
that,
behind us.
that
yes.
this is so many people are now on this bandwagon and making so many different devices and things to help people heal in these ways that, you know, not to diss
Well,
the medical system,
right.
but I think they're missing the mark in this
The
way.
rainbow, for me, the return of the rainbow children, kind of, you know that God refers to humanity as children. So it's not directly as incarnation of children,
Of really
but
children.
rather the children, humanity, yes, achieving their rainbow aura again, achieving that complete high frequency aura where they are one with everything. And I remember living in Atlantis, and I remember living on other planets, and we would have priests and priestesses that would bring the colors back in, even to the whole planet. They would make sure to bring the colors the planet was missing, and when the energy of the planet was really high, it would be more fertile, everybody would be more happy. So our planet has an aura, just like us, and I believe that we're returning to these things. And yes, it's the children, humanity is the children. That is the prediction that happened. That's the prophecy that happened. Not literal children, but rather humanity itself.
I want to bring Michael in again. Do you think there's exploitation with a lot of these kind of children, if you would, in the sense that they're being used, whether it's
I'm not
by
let me change the
government
word.
or-
I would not call it exploitation. There are certainly at the governmental level and more importantly behind the level
well, let me-
organizations, individuals
let me
that
give you an
have different
example.
agendas, but
the Pentagon uses a lot of the kids that are very smart in video games and technologies to fly the drones to do a lot of bombings.
they could.
So,
yeah.
and those could very well be indigo children or a lot of the rainbow children
I
you
didn't
might
know.
mention. So, is there, from that sense, are they being
I'm not as
exploited?
worried about that. I'm more worried the fact that society in general is not supporting the children across the board
Sure.
because of the structures. And it starts with the medical, with early child, then it goes into the education system. But these children are very different and extraordinarily sensitive, far more sensitive than my generation and even yours. They're so sensitive,
Hypersensitive.
hypersensitive, the toxicity and everything. And if I was to support this beautiful child as an advanced soul and look at them as the divine being they are, that's come into a human existence for a period of time to share time with me, I would treat them entirely differently. But we pull back all of the codings from our parents from when we were kids. My mother was born in the 30s. Now, Lynn's mother was born in the 60s.
Yes, thank you, honey.
We're so blessed.
But no, we pull in all of these codings up through age 7 of everything our parents did. Good, bad, right, wrong, whatever. And the shift in consciousness is huge, and it's gone so fast, society just hasn't caught up.
It's like we have incarnated with a lot of what I call energetic blockages in our energy
Yes.
field
Exactly.
from all of our ancestors, and we're working on clearing that.
Clearing all
And
the
it's-
lineages.
Yes, we're clearing all of that, and that does take work. And I remember it wasn't that long ago, and I was doing a lot of inner work, and I kept getting these images, and I'm like, where's this karma coming from? Because my life is pretty clear karmically. And I remember in a vision being shown to keep clearing, because this was coming from ancestors like 300 years ago that I was clearing, because we pass on, if you lie, you're going to pass that on to your child. Your child's more likely to lie. If you're honest, you're more likely to pass that on to your child. And I will tell you this, I was recently doing a lot of meditation about having a child because I haven't had a child yet, and I love children, and I want a child in the future. And I was praying, I was like, God, you know, my mom, my dad, they're not the greatest people. And I was like, should I have a child? Because I was worried. I'm like, is this going to be passed down their DNA? Is this going to be passed down? And then I got this download, and it was like, no. All the work you have done, you've encoded yourself with honesty, with kindness. That's what will be passed down. You erased all of that. You've done the work to clear all that. They will have no imprints of that, but only the imprints of you. So it's really important. And I think we don't understand how important it is when you have a child, what you're putting in the world. You're putting yourself in the world, and you need to look at yourself. Are you honest with yourself? Are you honest with others? Are you caring? Because yes, we have children in this world who are really messed up, but it's their parents who have passed down their issues because they have not done the inner work that they need to do.
Well, this is really fascinating stuff, and this is why a show like this is talking about things that the mediocre media is not talking about.
Doesn't want to address.
And so, but you know what? Because we are kind of well known in our own rights, we actually got some fan mail already. And I'm going to read some, and actually we're going to start with Jared from Akron, Ohio. Writes, 5G is around the corner. Is this a good thing? Well, that's kind of a generic question. Jared from Akron, Ohio. What I know about 5G is it's going to help our cell phones go to the next level, and we're going to
be smart.
We're going to be smarter and
not have to drive our
beautiful,
cars.
more bolder.
Not beautiful. It literally messes up your genetics.
Okay, so well, let's start with somebody jump in here. What do we think about 5G, Elaine? What do we think about?
Give Sarah the.
I've got to jump in.
Let her jump in.
She's busting
I'll
at the
round
seams.
it out
Yeah.
quickly after she's.
I have a lot of downloads on
So
this stuff.
is 5G a good thing?
No, it's a very bad thing. Again, we have AI technology, and AI technology seems like it's very advanced, but it's very primitive to the soul technology we have within our DNA and within our auras. So it's almost like fooling us. We're chasing after AI technology, and we are not realizing just how powerful we are and the technology that we have within. So no, 5G is a bad thing. One, it is affecting all life on Earth. It's affecting the plants, the trees. It's affecting the ocean really bad.
Right.
Yes, when I was back in England, I had where I was summoned out of my body, and I was speaking to this group of sperm whales, and they wanted to beach themselves. And you know, I was requesting they don't beach themselves, and I speak through energy. I'm very good at speaking with animals. And I will tell you this, is that the whales let me know that they were going to beach themselves because they were in pain. So they kind of pulled me into their bodies so I could literally hear what they were hearing. It was like heavy metal music 24 hours a day. That's what Wi-Fi does to them. And they beached. A couple days later, that I found an article online where a group of sperm whales beached themselves, and I know it was the same.
We have to take a hard break. I want to get back on 5G when we come back, but we're going to take a hard break here on Spiritual Disclosure. We're going to be right. Okay, welcome back. I want to get back into this 5G talk. This thing has gone viral across the country. People are having this very conversation in every community. Let me read you something from Natural News. They've now written a recent article that firefighters in San Francisco surrounded by 5G, which we hear they're doing in schools, hospitals, around the country,
neighborhoods are coming.
We have now we have firefighters that are now coming out saying they're experiencing memory problems and confusion. So to touch upon your last point before the hard break, is this something we're going to see more and more, and there's going to be more outcry that people are going to be pissed off and demand 5G take a hike? Is that something we're going to see? Is it going to take the memory loss and confusion in our heads to people to start saying
They had one school in California. 4 kids came down with cancer and 2 teachers.
And they
demanded to have the tower taken
That's right.
down.
Wasn't it like 4 kids? One of them is like critical condition, and they just took
Yes.
the 5G out.
That I haven't heard if they pulled the 5G out or not. The parents were demanding it, but the doctors in the area said no. This is absolutely is an environmental cause, and that's it.
Wow.
My
That is-
experience with 5G, and I explained some of that a while ago, was this download where the Earth was telling me that it was her literal energy
Yeah.
field, the electromagnetic field. It was putting the very electromagnetic field of this Earth off, and it was causing that. And not only it was causing. So it showed me originally, like in the 90s, the electromagnetic field of the Earth was like, maybe like 5 stories above us. Now it's just up to our knees. And it
Wow.
was telling me that it's being pushed down literally by the 5G, by the Wi-Fi, by the satellites, by all these different frequencies that are AI. And it told me it said for me to lay on the ground so that I could reconnect to the field. Because the field is what keeps us alive too. It brings us a lot of nourishing
Right.
energy. So our bodies are so confused. Our emotional system, which comes from the electromagnetic system of our body, is completely off, completely confused. Our cells are completely confused because our cells react to the electromagnetic field.
Well, it's
that's
actually
around us.
it's a radiation.
Yes.
It's almost like
It's
a
frying
micro.
you.
It's almost like
basically
we are
frying.
in a microwave, and it has been untested on
So
any
we're
kind
like-
of human.
Actually, it comes from Nazi
Right.
Germany is one of my downloads.
Well, I think
that
that's
comes from
that's
Nazi
true.
Germany.
So we're
This is
like one-
technology that was
We're like
used
one
back
big
then.
hot pocket
Exactly.
in a microwave.
That's
And it's
Right.
also
that's the
keeping
sad
us
truth,
from
basically.
Wow.
accessing our higher
We're
Right.
spiritual
hot pockets.
frequencies, which
Nature
is
is
even
God.
the
Source, yes.
scariest thing to me.
So nature is God's source energy.
Yeah.
So we're actually we're hooking in to AI technology rather than to nature and the natural
And
earth
our-
energy, which is
our
God's source
energies,
energy. Yes. We're connecting to each other. It's keeping us from connecting to each other too.
Well,
That's very
let's actually move on. We got actually another email. This one came in last night. This is actually from Cindy in Spokane, Washington. Cindy asked, "Will we see, we see the mandatory vaccines in New York due to the measles outbreak?
Yes.
We talked about that in the green room. Can we expect this same precedent in every state going forward?" That's a good question. Is that something?
Michael has some thoughts about that.
Fear-based, fear-mongering, and the information around the vaccines is it's a new level of insanity for the powers behind the scenes. I mean, it truly is.
Also follow the money.
You follow the money, but
Pharmaceutical.
I've been
Yes.
working with parents in my writing, in different hypnotherapy work. I would take the mothers into different trance states to get information from their higher selves about the children. And part of that is asking about vaccines. Is there a benefit? Is there not a benefit? Is there a concern in this particular child's instance? And in 8 years of doing this, not a single time has spirit or the higher self or whatever the parent was getting their information through came in and said, this is beneficial, you absolutely need the vaccine, make sure this child gets it. It's always been more of a conversation as, I think the damage will be not too bad. I mean, is that what we
Sure.
want? Besides, then you take it to another level, if these vaccines worked as well as they like to make people think, why would they need to make it mandatory?
Wow. Well, there lies the conspiracy. Finally, finally, let's end on this. We have Richard from Santa Monica. And this one is kind of geared towards our favorite person here, Sarah. Quote, he asked, "I love Lady Gaga. She's been a great advocate for people with lupus. Can we get her on the show?" Well, Richard, what a wonderful question Richard asked. Can we get her on the show? I gotta tell you, I didn't even know she had lupus.
I know she has an autoimmune issue. I think it is lupus.
Yes,
I'm not,
I
is
heard it
lupus?
was. Mhm.
I know she has an autoimmune issue. I was really impressed that she went to Paradise where the fires were, and she went and delivered food herself.
And she's the thing at the moment right now.
She is. And just, you know, everybody was talking about A Star is Born. I think it's such a beautiful movie. And I really like how powerful she comes across as a woman. She
Really?
does not care about who says what about her. She completely owns who she is. And even if you don't like what she puts out
Absolutely.
there,
No,
she
no, no,
owns
she's-
it.
Oh, I
she is
can't.
attractive.
She
And-
does own it.
And Lady Gaga, if you're watching,
She's
please come on this show.
beautiful.
Well,
I'd love to have it.
I think that I'm so thankful again for her, you know, for her, what the work she did with the Paradise Fires. And like, you know, I'm really hoping that more celebrities wake up, and I think there's a lot of celebrities who are woke up to this stuff, who have woke up to a lot of things. I just saw that, I think it's Chris Rock, maybe. I don't want to get this wrong, but I can say that somebody is pushing the Dr. Sebi documentary. And I don't know if you guys know about Dr.
No.
Sebi. So Dr. Sebi, he healed a lot of people from cancer and various illnesses using a specific detox diet that was quite brilliant. And I'm talking about people who they didn't have anything else.
They had no hope.
Yes, they had no
No
hope.
hope.
So I did hear that a celebrity right now is helping to fund that documentary.
Wow.
So that, you know, I welcome any of them
Well-
who change or who wake up or who really help out
Sure,
with the
sure,
issues,
sure.
just like a lead, just like our political leaders. So.
Well, I am so thankful for this show, and I'm thankful to be on set with each and every one of you. And I've learned so much today, as the audience has. And let's do this again. This is our first episode, and we hope everyone's enjoyed just a thorough hour of just complete consciousness, supernova bliss. But, you know, until next time,
Thank you.
keep the hope alive and keep the disclosure of everything spirituality alive. So we'll see you on the next side here at Spirituality Disclosure. Stay on this channel, stay on this dial. We'll catch you later.